Welcome back, class 10, your history class. Today we will start with a new chapter, chapter 4, which is second phase of the Indian national movement, partition of Bengal and other developments. Discontentment in the country went on increasing with the lapse of years. Discontentment in the country, that means dissatisfaction and anger among the citizens of India went on increasing. It went on increasing with the lapse of years. As years went by, their anger and discontentment of the people also increased. The drought led to a countrywide famine. There was a famine, countrywide famine, from the year 1896 to 1897. Bal Gangadhar Tilak, through his writings, explained to the peasants their rights to relief under the Famine Relief Code. So what did Bal Gangadhar Tilak do? He, through his writings, explained to the peasants that what was their right to relief, under what relief they could get, what help they could get under the Famine Relief Code. Now, after the famine, plague followed in the wake of the famine. The soldiers were deputed to take the plague-infected people to isolation camps. Soldiers were there to take the famine-infected people to their isolation camps. They behaved like gangs of invaders. They behaved like a gang of invaders, the soldiers. Insulted women, throwing household goods on the streets. They behaved with them very badly. This angered the people, so the people became very angry. Two sensitive young men, Damodar Chapekar and Balakrishna Chapekar, killed the plague commissioner, Mr. Rand. Bal Gangadhar Tilak, who was not at all concerned with the murder, was also arrested. So, two brothers rather, Damodar and Balakrishna, he killed the main commissioner of the plague relief department, or the plague commissioner, Mr. Rand, is a Britisher. He killed them. So the Britisher arrested Bal Gangadhar Tilak also, who was not at all concerned with the murder. He was tried for having written exposing articles in Kesari and was sentenced for 18 months imprisonment. This was greatly resented by the people throughout the country. So he was given 18 months. That was 1.5 years of prison, because it is said that he wrote very fiery and explosive articles in his paper, Kesari. Now comes recessive policy of Lord Curzon. Recessive means policies which it is repressive policy of Lord Curzon. Repressive policies means policies which forced the citizens not to exercise their own rights. It went against repressing, that means it went against the policy of the citizens. So, repressive policies of Lord Curzon. Lord Curzon was the Governor General and Viceroy of India from 1899 to 1905. Much of the unrest in India was due to the Lord Curzon's repressive measures. To him, as Mr. Gokhale said, India was a country where Englishmen was to monopolize for all time, all power. That means it was a country where English people will rule, and it will make this country, the English people made their monopoly. He roused a storm of opposition in the country by the Calcutta Corporation Act of 1899, which reduced the elected members of the corporation to half Similarly, the chief purpose of the Universities Act of 1904 was to reduce the autonomy and turn them into departments of government. The Sedition Act and Official Secrets Act curtailed the liberties of all the sections of the society. Lord Curzon's most unpopular measure was the partition of Bengal, which was announced in 1903 and was carried out in 1905. So, Mr. Curzon did passed a lot of repressive acts. It was passed during his reign, like Corporation Act, Universities Act, Seditions Act, and Official Secrets Acts. But the most important and the most ghastly act was the partition of Bengal. This act was passed in 1903 and the partition of Bengal was carried out in 1905. The province Bengal comprised of Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, Chota Nagpur and Bengali-speaking district of modern Assam. It used to comprise that whole thing, the province of Bengal. Now, it had an area of 1,90,000 square miles with a population of 78.5 million. In 1903, Lord Curzon formally approved the scheme of partition of Bengal. He approved the scheme of partition of Bengal. The Congress denounced the scheme. The Congress went against the scheme. Okay. And its annual sessions in 1904 and 1905. So when the act was passed act was announced in 1903. In 1903 and in 1904, in two Congress sessions, the Congress protested against the act. The protests continued, and yet the government put its plan into effect in 1905. Although the protests continued, but the government went on with the act in 1905. Accordingly, a new province called East Bengal and Assam was constituted by combining Assam and Chittagong with 15 districts of Old Bengal. So the new province comprised of an area of 1,06,540 square miles. Population was 31 million, of whom 18 millions were Muslims and 12 millions were Hindus. Its capital was in Dhaka and its subsidiary headquarters was in Chittagong. So this was the whole partition of Bengal. Now, causes of partition. There was one government's version. What was the reason? And there was one real version. The reasons behind the partition as the version of the nationalists. So what was the government's version? See, the government regarded the size of province of Bengal too large to be properly administered by a single provincial government. See, this is ridiculous because Britishers were ruling half of the world. They were ruling full India. Whole India was there under them. They could not control the province of Bengal. This was all made up stories. But whatever they said that the government regarded the size of province of Bengal too large to be properly administered by a single provincial government. Therefore, the idea of reducing the size of province was mooted from time to time. The partition of Bengal, as Lord Curzon said, was a mere readjustment and administrative boundaries. Lord Curzon said, no, it is just a readjustment of the boundaries. Nothing is there. Another argument advanced in favor of the partition was it would improve administration of both the provinces, Bengal and East Bengal and Assam. But what was the real reason? Reasons behind the partition, the nationalists' perspective, nationalists' point of view. The nationalists saw some other motives for the government's actions. Number one, to strike at the roots of Bengal's nationalism, Bengali nationalism. The real motive was to break the growing solidarity, solid friendship of Bengal nationalism. So, Bengal was the birthplace of nationalism. So, if you can split Bengal, there the growth and the growing solidarity of Bengali nationalism will break. Bengal at that time was considered to be the nerve center of Indian nationalism. Lord Curzon desired to crush the new spirit by dividing the politically advanced communities into two separate provinces. One of our main objective is to split up and thereby weaken a solid body of opponents to our rule, as Mr. Risley, who was the Home Secretary, then said. Lord Curzon and the British officials believed that Bengal united is power and Bengal divided will pull the national movement in several different directions. So obviously, they always had this policy of dividing and splitting up, because if you are split up, if you are divided, then you become weak. Now, second, the policy of divide and rule. That is to drive a wedge between the Hindus and Muslims so that they can separate them. Another motive behind the partition was to drive a wedge between the Hindus and the Muslims. In February 1904, Lord Curzon went on a tour of East Bengal where he addressed a number of meetings, where he explained to the Muslims that his object in partitioning was not only to relieve the Bengal administration but also to create a Mohammedan province. So this was the main, bait. He said went to East Bengal and told the Muslims, see, the main objective of partition is not only to relieve Bengal administration, to make their jobs easier, but also create a special, separate Mohammedan province. So the Muslims got very happy. The mullahs went from place to place explaining to the Muslims that the government was on their sides. They thought they were not aware of what game plan the British were having. Now, to demonstrate the strength of the British Raj, that was also a very important cause. Lord Curzon was reactionary, having a great dislike for democratic ideals. He believed that the people of India, illiterate as he called them, had no political aspiration. To him, the demands of Indian Congress had no meaning. So, the partition of Bengal, as Mr. Tara Chand said, was also a demonstration of strength of the British Raj to prove that it could afford to hold public opinion in contempt. Very, very interesting line. According to Tara Chand, to prove the superiority of the Britishers did not give any heed to the public opinion, any heed to the public. So according to them, whatever they wanted, they did, and they absolutely did that. Then there was a lot of anti-partition movement. The partition gave such a shock that the whole political life of the province was revolutionized. Almost overnight, the Bengalis felt that they had been insulted, humiliated, and tricked. Under the inspiring leadership of Surendranath Banerjee, K.K. Mitra, Bipin Chandra Pal, Ananda Mohan Bose, Aurobindo Ghosh, Rabindranath Tagore, and others, the agitation spread like wildfire all over Bengal. All the prominent newspapers joined in the protest, and on August 7, 1905, a massive meeting was held in the town hall in Calcutta. The students stood in group holding a banner displaying slogans Unity is Strength, Vande Mataram, and No Partition. Among other resolutions, a boycott resolution was also passed. People's reaction on October 16th, the day of mourning. Partition of Bengal became effective from 16th October 1905. The leaders declared it to be a day of mourning throughout Bengal. Every city, town, and village now rang with the cry of Vande Mataram, which symbolized patriotism and unity. Ananda Mohan Bose, a veteran political leader, presided over a huge meeting in Calcutta. He laid the foundation of the Federal Hall, which was the symbol of unity of Bengal, a meeting ground of the eastern and western Bengal. All the people gathered and took a vow of Swadeshi. Rabindranath Tagore wrote a famous patriotic song, Amar Sonar Bangla, especially for this occasion. Its sweet composition echoed around us for a long time, which is now, I think, is the national anthem of Bangladesh. Now came Swadeshi and boycott movement. The purpose of Swadeshi movement was expansion of Indian industries. Swadeshi and boycott movement were indeed complementary and supplementary to each other. That means two sides of the same coin. The boycott of foreign goods required that the market should be flowing with homemade or Swadeshi goods. So if you boycott foreign goods, so you have to be supplied with goods. So boycotting foreign goods and supplying of Indian goods. Initially the movement meant abstaining, means checking or controlling, from the purchase of British goods. In the course of time it became more comprehensive. Initially the movement was only stopping oneself and others from purchasing British goods, but later on it became very wide and comprehensive. It included boycott of English cloth, salt, sugar, renunciation of English speech, renunciation of government posts and seats in legislative councils, and social boycott for those persons who purchased foreign cloth and foreign goods. So later it became boycotting English cloth, sugar, and salt, not speaking in English, not applying or working in government posts and legislative councils, and socially boycotting those persons who were still purchasing foreign goods. The boycott movement thus tended to be openly, aggressively anti-British. It developed into a policy of non-cooperation with the British in every field. So it went on and became a non-cooperation with the British in every field. Now, what was the impact or significance of this movement? See, the Swadeshi spirit moved all sections of the society. It moved and it influenced all sections of the society. The cobblers refused to mend English shoes. The washermen refused to wash European garments. A person selling or buying foreign goods was subjected to great humiliation and insult. Even his relatives would boycott ceremonies such as weddings held at his residence. Foreign cloth, salt, sugar placed in heaps were set on fire. The movement, although failed to destabilize the government, but it affected the life of the nation in various ways. Number one, there was a decline in the import of British goods. Stimulus or motivation, growth was there in Indian industries such as the Bengal Chemical Factory, which was started by Prafulla Chandra Roy. There was an establishment of Tata and Iron Steel Company. Number three was there was an urge for national education that resulted in hundreds of national schools in Calcutta. There was an outburst of literary activity that sustained through the various newspapers. Writings were published, and the newspapers like Kesari, Marhata, and Jugantar. And in short or in brief, we can say that the anti-partition movement grew into a vigorous, lively national movement. The question of partition receded into the background. So the question of partition went to the background. And the issue was whether British rule itself was to endure in Bengal or, of that matter, anywhere in India. Tilak was tried, was taken to court for seditious writing in Kesari. In July 1908, he was convicted and deported to Mandalay to serve 6 years of imprisonment. Earlier, Lala Rajpat Rai and Sardar Ajit Singh was also deported to Mandalay. Tilak, Bipin Chandra, Lala Rajpat Rai and others became the very symbol of sacrifice and the cause of national movement. The young revolutionaries like Khudiram Bose, Prafulla Chaki, Madanlal Dhingra died. They were killed, rather, in order that others might live. Now the bloody phase, the sacrificial phase of Indian political movement, Indian national movement started. So that is all for today. Please go through the chapter. I hope you have understood it. In the next class, we'll start with the Surat split of 1907. Thank you for today.